the people that you are leading are spending most of their day, 8 hours a day at least, with you, under your leadership. What you do, what you say, how you lead has a massive impact on all of those people, because that's where they spend most of their time. So think about this for a moment. Most employees are probably between 20 and 35. But again, it differs from industry to industry, but typically the 20 to 35 is when people are in their prime, in their careers, when they are hustling the hardest, when they do the over hours, when they go after it. That's the time when you typically have them in your teams. That's the time when they get very excited getting hired by you and becoming part of your team. They came with a lot of expectations, and now they're in your team, and now you lead them. They see you every day, or of course, if it's a remote setup, maybe less frequently. Also depends on your office setup, but your influence on them is present on a daily basis. They try to fulfill your expectations, even the ones that are unspoken. They may have overheard you, how you spoke about another employee in a dismissive manner. Oh, this guy didn't give enough effort. So that employee registered, not giving enough effort, my boss doesn't like that. And why does that employee care about it? It's biological, it's psychological. We always try to adjust to our leaders. It's called mirror neurons. Children do the same thing when they adjust to their parents. We want to be like them, we want to imitate them, because that is the best bet we have for not getting expelled from the group and from the tribe. So a lot of early stage employees or early career employees, as well as high performers particularly, will pay a lot of attention to what their leader approves of or disapproves of, because they also want to get ahead and they want to secure their place in the company. It would be very embarrassing to get fired. How do you explain that to your parents who just financed your university education and your master degree? So people have an incentive to look up to their leaders. Employees have an incentive to give it all, to impress the leader, to live up to the expectations of the company. That is a massive responsibility. You have those employees in their prime years, in their 20s and in their 30s. They spend the best hours of their best days, of their best years with you under your leadership. And how you talk to them, how you lead them, how you guide them, how you shape them is not only how they are shaped in their professional environment and professional career, but it also bleeds over into their personal lives. Now, there are different modes, different variants of leadership, and I'm a really big believer in situational leadership. I do not think that every leader should be empathetic. I do not believe that every leader should be assertive. I think that a leader should have a toolbox and can choose these different modes, these different personalities, depending on what the situation requires. And then it takes judgment to actually understand what the situation requires. And it also means that there's not a single leadership style that will guarantee you success, or that will make you the most responsible or the most effective leader, right? You have to look at your unique context, and you have to look at what specifically is needed. Like, for example, in high pressure, high stakes situations, hierarchy can save lives. Think of firefighters, paramedics. If you have like long discussions and consensus-driven decision making, that would be fatal. You look at other environments, like in innovation labs, product teams and so forth, a hierarchical mode would just destroy things. And you need consensus there, you need discussion, you need different ideas to come together, to converge, and to create and synthesize, create something new. Now, your leadership style obviously needs to adapt to the situation. But you also have to be careful that you're always dealing with people. People have emotions, people have their own preferences, people have fears, people have dreams, people have expectations. And as a leader, often it's unspoken expectations, or almost accidental behaviors that will set the tone for your entire team. Now, you might think of yourself as somebody who's working really hard. And so you don't have a problem with burning yourself out. You don't have a problem. Burnout is like a regular occurrence in your professional career. It's nothing to worry about. And so you don't think that's a big deal, right? Because you're resilient, you got through that, you hardened up, you toughened up. it now becomes implicitly or explicitly, depending if you are aware of it, but it becomes automatically the expectation that you place on your employees. What? It's Friday evening and you already go home? And you might even say this without being aware of it, because for you it's just normal. And maybe you're in a higher salary range, or you have different motivations. You have something to prove to someone, or someone in your past. You have a different life. You have a different background. Your employees might not be in the same situation. They might have their center of gravity in their personal lives, in their family, in their personal communities that they belong to. They do not attach as much meaning and importance to the business or to their role as an employee in that company. Now you can push them out. You can say they're not fit for the job. You can push them harder to bring more results, whatever it is. Of course, one best practice is here to just bring them up to your level, coach them, and train them, and make sure that they build the capacities to perform at the level that you need them. But ultimately, you have to be aware, burnout for employees under your leadership is actually quite a serious manner. And it took me personally years to understand this. I certainly also made massive mistakes when it came to leading employees, when it came to me setting the tone, setting the pace, setting the speed, and expecting other people to keep pace. You can also break people by doing this accidentally, hopefully not intentionally, but you can really create damage as a leader, even if you do not want to, if you do not choose to. And I think a bit about the consequences. Burnout for some cowboy cultures or wannabe cowboy culture sounds like there's just people who are not hard enough, who are not tough enough, and they're not the right caliber for this job. Again, keep one thing in mind: what is this job anyway? Life is more than that. And so, what happens is for some of those employees is they might quit the job. They might withdraw socially. If they stay in a job, they might withdraw socially from their personal environments. They withdraw from their personal interests. Typically one behavior. They start snapping at everybody in their personal life. They wouldn't do it at work because they have a job to lose and an income source to lose. But they might destroy their personal relationships, their family relationships. They might not go out anymore. They might just withdraw into their own worlds. Sometimes when they quit their jobs, they might need half a year or longer before they can ever take a job again, because every time they just go on a laptop, their nervous system shuts down. That's not even psychological anymore. That's a nervous system body response where working on a laptop is associated with extreme fear or with extreme overwhelm. That's sometimes even outside of the control of the human mind, right? And so, do you really want to be the reason for this to happen? Right? Do you really see that as a leader, this is a collateral damage that you're willing to accept? That's just the way things are. Of course not. And what's the opposite? Now, many leaders that drive their teams really hard and really aggressively then say, okay, I saw my mistakes. Let's reverse course. I want to be a really understanding and empathetic leader. And then they go into the other extreme, where they do not manage performance anymore, where they do not set expectations anymore, where everybody can just do whatever they want. Everybody can just make whatever decision they want. Doesn't matter. And then you see leaders becoming very conflict avoidant, very also withdrawn in a way, because they just do not want to be that person anymore. Or maybe they've seen other people being that person and they don't want to be the same, and they turn into the exact opposite. Now, what happens if you do not lead your team, if you do not give directions, if you do not set expectations on performance? That's not really a good thing either for the employees. You rob them of purpose. There is something satisfying of solving problems, of achieving things, of pushing beyond your limits. But it's all about the balance. It's about the sustainability. It's about the long-term view on it. And you will always, whatever polarity you're on, whether you're more on the empathetic side or permissive side, or if you're more on the assertive and almost tyrannical side, whatever the opposite is of your polarity is where you need to dig in deeper. And you ultimately, if you're a person who's very assertive, very commanding, you need to adopt more empathy. You need to adopt more understanding of your employees. If you're a person who's very empathetic and understanding, permissive, you need to adopt more assertiveness, more leadership, giving direction. And it is in that dynamic interplay between two polarities that you find your sweet spot. And that's called situational leadership. We just apply then to the situation what is needed in the situation. Same goes for the visionary who needs more execution. And the same goes for the person who's always executing and completely lost track of the strategic mission, or even lost track of what they're doing, if they're like the hustler, the grinder, if there is actually something, but what they're doing that moves the needle at all or not. And you will end up with a situation where you have a toolbox of leadership styles. And regardless though of any of those styles, one thing you would always be well advised to make part of your toolbox is a concept called cognitive empathy. And cognitive empathy is the ability to put yourselves into the shoes of other people, including your employees. It does not mean to get emotionally entangled with them, which is often how people misinterpret empathy. Especially you go back to our cowboy cultures or wannabe cowboy cultures, especially in leadership teams. So empathy, who needs that, right? Empathy, that's ridiculous. That's for soft people. Well, that's a misunderstanding of empathy. There's a mode of empathy that's called emotional or affective empathy that is all about getting emotionally entangled, being dragged into somebody else's emotions in pity and compassion and whatnot, which obviously does not have a place in the workplace. It does not have a place in sales. It doesn't have a place anywhere. Like that doesn't belong here. But there is the other side, which is cognitive empathy. I walk through my organization with open eyes and I look beyond the outer appearances. I put myself in the shoes of people. I try to anticipate their sentiments, their behaviors. I try to understand not only the operational landscape of my company, but also the psychological landscape of my company. Because keep one thing in mind, as a leader, first of all, one of your main tools is communication. It's written or spoken communication, right? In the same way that somebody working on a construction site uses tools, that's their tool. Your tool is communication. And the next tool in order to do communication properly is you need to know what to say strategically, when and where. If you make certain plans, you need to communicate them. If you're leading people, you need to communicate with them in a certain way so that they are mobilized to get the results. And that's your realm as a leader. That's where you operate. And if you understand the psychological landscape of your company, if you can predict, if you can anticipate, if you immerse yourself in it, if you pay attention to it, you'll be surprised how much more effective your leadership will become. And you will also be able to mitigate and anticipate before a crisis becomes full blown, and also before your employees are burning out and before they leave the company. And so often it's also your top talent actually that leaves the company because they are they're most prone to burning themselves out. And like, why not anticipate, why not solve these issues before they become full-blown crises? And you do this by being vigilant, by using leadership in a situational manner, by digging deep into the psychological landscape of your company, of your organization, of your teams, and start from there, because that's the leader's foremost role, and also responsibility. You're leading people. This is serious business, and no effort should be spared to do it in the most responsible manner. Also understanding certain targets need to be achieved, goals need to be achieved, but there are different ways of getting there.